And that's it. Next, for my time sprint breakdown, I will create a few rules. The first one will be to create all the task breakdown list. So I will create a rule to fill the task breakdown list. The rule will have a single output, which is the time task breakdown list. The task will need an input for that same list, so the list to fill. Next, the task will need the type of object to create. So for every task I want to create a task breakdown, so I will associate it as the static collection. I also need another static input for the instance to match. And the instance will be the linked task as the static collection. And the next but not least is the actual task list from which I will create every value. So here is the task list input, and this input I will get it from the linked sprint, and from that sprint I need to dig up the task list, and from the task list I need to fetch every task. I'm now ready to implement my rule, and what I will do is return create objects matching all values from the task list. I will put it in the list to fill with the instance to match, which is the linked task, and the type to create. Enable, apply. Next, I will create another rule to copy my breakdown time automatically to all my breakdown time of all the tasks I'm breaking down. So, create a rule, copy breakdown time. This rule will have a single input and multiple outputs. So the first the input will be the breakdown time. The output will be of all the time task breakdown. I want to update the breakdown time. My input is the time. So the rule is pretty simple. All I need to do is copy it so I can return the time parameter. Next, I need to find out how much time I have left at this particular time for the whole sprint. So I need to create another rule to sum time remaining. This rule will have a single input and a single output. The output will be the work effort left. The input will be for all the time task breakdown. Get me the selected work event, and from the selected work event get me the time remaining. Now to create my sum, all I need to do is to return the sum of remaining time list So now that each of my task is broken down, each of my sprint is broken down, now I need to automatically populate the time sprint breakdown list. To do that, I will first create a rule to create the time sprint breakdown list. Now I will have to use the sprint start date and end date as a point to get all my intervals populated. So I will first create a rule. This rule will have the goal of create the time sprint breakdown list. This rule will have one output, which is the sprint breakdown list. This rule will have multiple inputs. So the first input is the list to fill, which is the same as the output. Another input is the sprint start date. So I take the linked sprint, and from the linked sprint I select the start date. The next input will be the sprint end date. So I take the linked sprint and select the end date and the interval that I've configured, so the time interval here as an input. Next, I will need the type to create, the instance to match, and the values to associate. So create two static inputs. The type to create will be a time sprint breakdown. The instance to match will be the breakdown time. Now, first I will create my date interval list in the code. So I will create a date interval list based on the sprint start date, the sprint end date, and the interval. Now I need to rename these functions so that they will compile. So there we go. And from there I will return create objects matching all values for the date interval list. And we'll populate the list to fill using the instance to match, which is the breakdown time. I will use the type to create, which is the time sprint breakdown object. And I can enable my rule. Next, I need to copy the selected sprint to all the time sprint breakdown that I've just created. So I will create another rule, copy selected sprint. This rule will have a single input and a single output. The rule input will be the linked sprint. The output will be on all the time sprint breakdown in the list. Use the linked sprint and return the sprint.